Hello, my name is Janelle Dolan, and this is my Assessment 5 reflection video. So my feedback form from Assessment 4, I met with my grandmother on November 7th, 12th, 15th, 17th, and I presented my capstone project to her on the 22nd. I spent each of those days I spent 2 hours, so that's a total of 10 practicum hours. I met at my grandmother's house each time. The problem that we're addressing is hypertension, but I'm kind of gearing that towards obesity as well because that is a factor for that. This was a problem for her because she's always been unhealthy as long as I can ever remember, very frequent doctor visits, and she's not really having any changes with anything. My intervention was the DASH diet, so I explained all that to her on my brochure. We went a little more in depth. This was really my first time actually going that in depth with the DASH diet, so I learned a lot from this as well. We're going to start taking her blood pressure, or she is, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I figured that was a better start than every day, so it wouldn't get too overwhelming for her. And she's going to start walking 1 time a week. Going to start simple with her. I told her she has a really long driveway, so I told her a few times up and down the driveway. Something is better than nothing for her at this point because she does not exercise and she eats terribly. So like I said, we're going to start taking her blood pressure every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and she's going to log it. She's going to write it down for me, and then we'll figure out a way to get it to her doctor or just track it ourselves. To get into the DASH diet, I think it's going to take a little while for her to get used to cutting back on things. She's the type of person that just loads the salt to her french fries. So little things like that, that's just a habit to her, is going to really take some time to get her to not do those things, to look at food labels and be conscious of those. Eat more fruits and vegetables because she does not eat a lot of those. Cookies, junk food, you name it, sugar, she eats it. So, like I said, it's going to be really hard to break all those habits. So, my grandma, she's obviously very nervous about all of this because she knows that it's going to be hard to break all of those habits, but I've explained to her and I've driven the point home with her that she is not healthy if she keeps going down this road. Her hypertension is going to get worse. She's just going to keep gaining weight, and she could end up like her mom and dad, and I don't think, to me, that would scare me if my parents died at a young age from hypertension and her mom died in her sleep. They think from stroke. So that's never really seemed like it's bothered her because she's never tried to be any healthier, despite what both of her parents have suffered from. The positivity of the intervention was that once I get her to do all this stuff and it starts becoming a little easier and natural, it will pay off in the long run. But the negativity is that she's... Hey! Sorry. The negativity is that she's worried about how she's going to do it, how she's going to adjust everything. But again, I've talked to her a lot about it and told her that, it's going to be hard. It definitely is going to be hard, but it's something that she needs to do. So, feedback from my grandmother was that she said it's a lot of change at once. There was a lot of different things and a lot of different routes that I could go with the DASH diet, trying to monitor the blood pressure, but I tried to do as minimal, subtle changes as possible because it's a lot of change, because I could have had her, get an app on her phone, start logging every meal, start really paying attention to how much sodium is in everything, take her blood pressure every day, go for a walk every day. That would have been very challenging for her, so I tried to start it off slow. If we progress, and if we progress better, I hope that these things she'll start doing by herself and she won't need as much push and help with it. She's concerned about like how she's going to stop drinking soda to lower her sugar. She doesn't drink a lot of water, but I just told her little changes at a time. We're just, right now I'm focused on a little less salt, a little more fruits and vegetables, and we'll work on everything as it gets there. The peer-reviewed literature that I used in this, peer-reviewed literature, it solidifies the case that you have built because it provides solid evidence to back up your statements and shows your readers why your statement is correct. And it shows them why and how it will work because somebody else has used it and has proven that it works. So peer-reviewed is reviewed by a panel to ensure that what is being reported is of a high quality standard and is credible. So when you review articles that have been peer-reviewed, you can be pretty sure that the information that you're taking from that is reliable. So leveraging healthcare technology. I definitely did not use as much technology as I would have liked on the patient care aspect. However, again, I didn't want to overwhelm my grandmother because it's a lot to take in, and I've used dieting apps before where you log every meal. It's very difficult and it's not easy to pay attention to every little single thing. So I knew that she would have had a hard time with that, and the Bluetooth blood pressure cuff was not really a route for us to go right now. So like the apps track meals, the Bluetooth blood pressure cuff, she already has a wrist blood pressure cuff, so that is what we ended up using for her instead, because she already has it, it's easy, she knows how to use it, so she's just going to start tracking her blood pressures and writing them down. So the technology that I leveraged was using the digital wrist cuff every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Simple technology for her to use. And another part of the peer-reviewed literature relates to that the article by Kit in 2019 studied and came to the conclusion that patients will be more compliant when they're able to monitor their own blood pressure at home. In the future planning my grandmother's health, I'm going to try to use more technology, is the food tracking apps, specifically to track sodium and pay attention to how much sodium that she is using to see if probably going to need to cut her back more. But like I said, for now, I don't want to overwhelm her because she was gracious enough to let me use her and do all of this with her, which I was very surprised that she's been this open to everything. So it's really been interesting to see and talk to her about all of this, and I really hope that she takes a lot away from it and that we can continue with everything that I've been talking about with her. So the health policy influenced my capstone project because policy is in every single thing that nurses use. You need to know what policies your facilities have. You need to know what policies protect your patients. HIPAA, Nurse Care Act. You need to know all of that stuff and keep it in the back of your mind when you're with your patients, because those things do come up and you need to know them. In a hospital setting, it is not easy to plan and implement something in depth is what I went with this capstone project, because I really went in depth and personalized this care for my grandma as best I could. In the hospital setting, I work night shifts. It's not easy to get that in depth with your patients. By the time I get there at 7 o'clock, patients want to go to sleep by 10 o'clock. They don't want you bugging them. So it's a little bit more difficult than if it were a day shift. Families there, doctors there, case managers there. At night, you kind of you don't really get that full effect of everybody being there and being able to plan that patient's care. But throughout my bachelor's program, I've learned a lot about processes and things that I knew we're there. I knew we're in the healthcare setting, and that they were involved with the patient process, but I never really paid a lot of attention to it. I guess because I don't see it at night. I don't see case managers working. I think I can count on one hand the number of times that I've actually spoke to a case manager about a specific patient. New health policies come about, going through this bachelor's program. I see, okay, so this is how they collect the data, and this is how they implement this stuff, that these policies don't just, pop out of nowhere. They actually follow a way to do it and to set it up to make sure that it's going to be successful. Above all, the Nurse Practice Act is something that I've centered my bachelor's program around, because these are really things that I see every day. That's really something that you need to know and just keep in the back of your head always, and HIPAA when you're dealing with patients. Did my initial outcomes meet my expectations? So I guess when I started this was a very broad, hypertension and obesity. It's a very broad subject. There is a lot of places that you can go with this. There's a lot of different routes you can take. To manage hypertension, exercising, improving diet, weight loss, stress reduction, there's so many different ways that you can try to lower hypertension. But the route with the best evidence-based practice was utilizing the DASH diet, which is what I did my capstone project on. There was a lot more, it's backed up by the American Heart Association and the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, because it's been so proven to reduce hypertension. My personal and professional growth in the capstone project. So I started September 14th of this year, finished in less than 3 months. I cannot believe that I am sitting here doing my final video for my capstone project. It's been a very, very intense 3 months, finishing 12 classes in 3 months. But in all of this, like I said, it's really opened up my eyes to a lot of things in healthcare that, because I realized were there, but I never really paid attention to. So now that I have a better idea about all of that stuff, it's a little easier for me to say, relate to at work. Okay, that's what we do this for. That's what the case management uses all this data for, when they look at charting and whatever, and pain scores, when we document them and when we don't, that is all going to come up later in a policy of, you're not documenting pain scores more frequently, you're not documenting them enough, you're not giving the right kind of pain medication, which is something that my hospital's been dealing very heavily with lately. Ethics is always so huge, so huge. I work with primarily the elderly population, and it's very difficult if you're not comfortable with them, it's very difficult to keep your patients, keep yourself composed in those situations. But if you were raised right and you have good morals, being a nurse and following the ethical codes of nursing, they will be very easy to do. They'll be easy to do, easy to follow. So I see a lot of people that don't follow those, and it's very sad to see in the healthcare setting sometimes. But personally, we are there to help those patients, help those families. That is what we do. We are there to be support systems. We're there to treat those patients with respect and kindness as much as we would want to be treated. In specific growth areas that I'm most proud of is definitely finishing this in 3 months, with everything that I've had going on in my life lately. It's been very, very crazy. New house, lots of dogs, as you can hear in the background, being crazy as I'm getting ready to go to work tonight. But I'm very happy about what I've achieved. I'm only 20. I graduated high school early, and I graduated with my RN when I was 19, and I have my bachelor's before I'm 21. So I don't know where I'll go next with my nursing career or my journey, but I'm very, very excited to see what I'll do next, and what I'll choose and where I'll go from here. But Dr. Stagg, thank you very much. You've been amazing, and I'm so happy that I'm done. Thank you.